go, Brandon.
Hey guys, many of you may remember the video that I put out a couple of months ago where I ran across a lot of corroded ammunition, 7.62 2x39 ammo, that had gotten wet in my garage. So I wanted to run a couple of tests to see how the cleaning method would work as far as being able to run them through an AK-style weapon. Well, I took some CLP and cleaned some of them with a paper towel, just kind of brushed everything off. And then I took another third of the whole group and ran them into a tumbler for a little while. Now, I know that's not recommended. Manufacturers recommend not doing that. Something about changing the properties of the gunpowder with all the vibrations, that if you make the gunpowder, it's usually in a flake type form, that if you make it smaller, it can be more combustible and actually give you more pressure in the firearm whenever you're trying to fire it. That did not happen. Of course, we took all the precautions that we should have taken, even had our med kit out here, but took all the precautions to strap this thing down. And this Palmetto State AK-47 style weapon ran without a hitch. I mean, it really did. I mean, I didn't have any issues with it whatsoever. Ran all three different types of ammo through this thing. This thing had never been fired and it ate it up just fine. But it's an AK style weapon, right? And that's what we kind of what was reflected in the comment section was that, oh, it's an AK. AKs will eat anything. Many of you either said that an AR style weapon either would not or could not. As luck would have it, I actually have a 7.62 by 39 AR style weapon from Windham Weaponry. Windham Weaponry made an AR style weapon for me many years ago, probably in 2014 or so, that I used for hog hunting, and that's why I wanted it. I want a specific rifle in this particular platform, but in that particular round, so that I could take it effectively hog hunting. That's just my preferred hog hunting round. I'm not saying that's the best one out there. I'm not saying that this is the best firearm to take hog hunting. It's the best one for me, just like everybody else has their own, and everybody else should have their own. Don't let somebody else talk to you and tell you what you should be shooting. So anyway, I took my AR style Windham Weaponry that shoots 7.62 by 39 out here to the range. We're gonna see if it will eat the ammo. Okay guys, first thing I'm gonna do is load up some of the tumbled rounds. The tumbled rounds ran perfectly in the AK style PSA. I don't suspect they're going to be any different here. I do want to run the same test, so I'm going to do that. These are obviously the ones that are in the best condition, so they seemed obviously to be the most reliable ones in terms of doing that. In fact, I'll probably tumble the rest of this entire batch once I'm through with this experiment, just to show you guys. Let me load that first magazine up and then we'll move on to the next ones. All right guys, moment of truth. Let me put my Axle GS Extremes in. Guys, if you don't or haven't ever used these, you got to try them. Links in my description if you guys are looking for a good deal on ear protection. It's the best ear pro I've ever used by far. So I wanted you to have a deal on that. If you would, check in my description, you'll see it. Again, a big deal. All right, let's put our ammo in there. Close our bolt. Seemed to load okay. But it did seem to be a little sluggish on that load, so I'm curious if these other dirtier rounds are going to be an issue. So let's see, guys. All right, let's go to the next ones. All right, friends, these could be a little trickier. They're a little bit dirtier, but the dirty bore CLP that I used did a really good job as far as cleaning these. I mean, just spent a couple of minutes on each one trying to clean them, so ooh, this one's kind of dirty. So yeah, we may have some that are a little bit better than others as far as loading. Yeah, I'm just looking at these. Some are kind of rough looking and some look okay. So let's run these. Well, that one's probably not going to fire because if you look at the primer on that one, I don't know if you can see if the camera's going to focus or not on that, but the primer on that, I'm going to leave that one out because that's not going to be the firearm's fault. Looks like paper is still stuck to the primer on that one. So let me get one just to be fair to the firearm. Let's go shoot these. All right, obviously the bolt going forward seemed sluggish on the last ones. Let's see how effectively it goes forward on this one. Okay. Here we go, guys. A little bit of an issue in there. Let's see. That sent the bolt forward. I'm not sure what the issue was. It was a feeding issue. The spent casings are gone. So this was the round that had the issue here. We try to treat this thing fairly. Put the same one right back in there. Again, it did not feed. Let's see if this one's going to fold. Feed, I mean. There we go. That's it. That's it for that magazine. Let's run 5 more of those, just to be fair, to see how that runs, because again, the third one, I believe, second or third one, did not feed properly. So let's run 5 more of those and see what we got. All right, guys, 5 more of the same. Again, these are the CLP clean ones. All good on those. We'll run some more of these. I'm just curious if that was a bit of a hiccup. Again, like I said, some of those rounds were a little bit more corroded than others, because again, I just hand did these. So some I got cleaner than others. I'm wondering if the completely corroded, uncleaned, untumbled might have more of an issue, or if that was just an extremely dirty one. Let's load those up. Now, these are kind of rough. You guys have seen these in the previous video. They're completely untouched. Not touched whatsoever. I simply took any paper off of them and threw them back in here. Let's run them. Now this one ought to be fun. Let's see how the really dirty, untouched, corroded stuff runs in this Windham Weaponry AR-15. Possibly a failure to eject. Yep. No, it's a failure to feed. Let's run the rest of these. All right. Just happened to have another magazine of these because I suspected this would be an issue. Ran those. Let me look at that one that failed to feed and see how bad it is. It's back here on the ground. I mean, it's pretty corroded right there. You can see some skid marks right along there. See where the brass, the copper is a little scraped right there, and then you see the scrape marks coming across the steel right there. And then the back side of it's not that bad. Looks like just that side right there, and you can see where, again, the copper appears to have made it possibly up into the chamber throat, and maybe it might have been this portion of the casing that began the drag, maybe where it actually starts to expand out where the steel is, the steel casing. That's probably, because it's pretty bad right there. You can see the scrape marks on the back. That might be where I dragged it out by pulling the bolt backwards. Might be where it continued to drag to get it out of there, but it does look like it made, the projectile made it up into the throat. We'll run this one. We'll put another 5 rounds in and put this one at the top. Actually, let's do the same thing. We'll put it third. Let's see what it does. Same one. The very same one. Let's take a look at that real quick. I want to see this. Okay. I mean, more of the corrosion is knocked off of it. Ooh, you know what? It's a bad round. It's got a primer strike on it. Okay, guys, this changes everything. This was probably already like that the first time. Look how deep that primer dent is. In other words, it's not just a primer dimple that you would normally see. If you look, there's kind of it caves in the rest of the primer around it. The reason why I say that is here's one of the other spent casings, and you can see how distinct and clear that primer knock is. So you see how the other one is really wallowed out, and it's kind of a bowl shape, and it's not a real sharp, distinct primer hit. So my guess is the one on the left, which is the faulty round that we just had, pretty sure it got struck both times. The first time around, I put it back in and it got struck the second time around. That's a defective round or a defective primer. Clearly that's not the firearm right there. So yeah, let's run let me run a 10 round magazine in there and see what we got. All right, guys, 10 rounds, uncleaned, untumbled. Let's go. What do we got? possible another failure to feed. All right, let's look at that one. Nope. Another primer strike. It's not the firearm. Of course, in the replay, you guys probably noticed it. My brain doesn't think that fast. I don't notice that if it's a failure to feed or not while I'm doing the action, because I'm running through it. I'm just thinking, I'm expecting it to go bang. You guys probably noticed it on camera. But yeah, another primer strike. So it looks like one of the rounds that came out in the first magazine, actually in the cleanest of the group, in the tumbled ones, we had one issue there. Probably no issues in the second group, in the ones that were just clean with CLP. And I say no loading issues, no firearm issues. Obviously there was an issue with the ammunition because we had a primer strike, bad ammo. And then with the third group, the really nasty corroded stuff, really ammo issues. Not seeing the AR being outperformed by the AK. Nothing special was done to these rounds. I mean, you see they're disgusting, dirty rounds. I've run them all through, and it looks like the biggest issue we have, again, is ammo related, not firearm related. So kudos to the AR platform for being able to handle this. Guys, I will mention this, that the magazines, a lot of the issues that feeding issues with the 7.62x39 in the past, when it came to the AR style platform, was poorly designed magazines. You couldn't just throw a magazine together to expect it to throw the ammo in there. I realize that from an AK platform standpoint, you kind of can, but it's not, the ARs are a little bit more finicky. So a lot of the early issues that you had with your AR style weapons trying to fire the 7.62x39 is because the magazines simply weren't designed properly. And over time, they've had a chance to perfect and make a really nice magazine. Again, these are ASC magazines. They seem to work really, really well. Feed into the magazine well, just fine. The little bit different angle that you see because of the much different type of taper and thickness of the round also. That's why you have that different kind of banana clip, the joke of the AK round looking like a banana. But that's why you have such a more pronounced type of magazine of a curve rather than that more straight AR style platform. And as you can see, this is starting to have that hook down at the bottom of it, which if it had 30 rounds, it would have just managed to hook even more over. So again, magazines are typically the key in that AR platform as far as shooting this type of round. One more thing, just to bring a point to, you'll notice that I don't have a thread protector or anything on my AR, my Windham Weaponry. That's because I run a suppressor whenever I hog hunt. And I took my suppressor off for this because I didn't want to create any more gas pressure issues or anything like that inside the firearm to maybe change the performance of the actual round going through there, knowing that it could potentially be a sensitive thing. So that's why you see no thread protector, no muzzle device or anything like that, because I usually run just a suppressor on there, and I took it off for this. Guys, I got to say, the AR platform seems to be pretty good. This is not to take anything away from that AK-style platform by Palmetto State Armory. PSA puts good stuff out there, guys. I'm a true believer of their platforms. Just like what they're doing right now. They're doing a lot of cool things in the market. And yeah, check links in my description on my website. You're going to see a lot of cool stuff that's going to send you guys to be able to get some deals on things that we run across. When I run across deals, I try to pass those on to you. That's why I mentioned the Axle ear protection. It's not just a matter of me trying to pimp out a product to sell to you guys. It's the fact that you guys are typically going to receive some savings on your end of it. So if I could pass those cost savings on to you guys, it makes me more happy, because I know that you're going to be using products that I typically use, that I choose to use, and in the end receive some, some good deals from that. So check that out. Check out the Palmetto State line of firearms. I'm going to give you guys a link where you can go check it out. Probably get some pretty good savings on that. I'm going to be running some Palmetto State Armory AR-15s very, very soon. They're going to be in 5.56 round, not AK rounds. But nevertheless, I'm going to be running those extremely soon, probably in the next couple of weeks. So look out for that. A real traditional style PSA and then a more modernized looking PSA AR. So keep an eye out for those guys. Guys, remember, always be the safest person in the room and the deadliest.
Let's go, Brandon.